The Shadow of the Crematorium. Part 1. The Mystery of the Lost Village. There are many villages in Bangladesh that no one hears of, no one knows of. And there are some villages that no one wants to know of. About 7 hours from Dhaka, amidst the hills, forests and rivers, lies an old village, Nishindipur. It is said that once the village was called Nishindipur, but now no one pronounces the full name, because people believe if you pronounce the full name, they will hear you. The journalist Arif Rahman, a 28-year-old investigative journalist. He did not believe in ghosts or spirits. To him, everything was evidence, facts, logic. One day, he was working at the office. Suddenly, his boss said, "Arif, there is a special assignment." "What kind?" "Supernatural." Arif laughed. "A report on ghosts? Seriously?" The boss threw a file in front of him. Written in big letters on the file, Nishindipur, 17 missing persons. Arif's smile slowly faded. 17 people? Yes, in the last 2 years, no one has returned. The police? Went there, found nothing. The locals? No one wants to speak. The boss leaned in a little and said, "They say the crematorium of the village has awakened." Arif laughed again. "Perfect, I'm going." He still didn't know. This decision would change his life forever. The journey. After getting off at the last stop of the bus, Arif realized the real journey started here. A broken tea stall. 2 old men were sitting there. Arif asked, "How do I get to Nishindipur?" The shopkeeper went silent. The other man said softly, "Why do you want to go?" "Reporting." The man stared at him for almost 10 seconds. Then he said, "You won't be able to reach before dusk. Is there a problem?" The man did not answer again. He just said, "If you go, you won't return." The village entrance. Arif arrived as the sun was setting. At the village entrance, there was a broken signboard. Nishipur. The middle of the board was cut off. The wind was blowing. There was an eerie silence all around. No bird calls, no dogs, no sound of children. Just the wind. Arif thought to himself, "People exaggerate, nothing else." Just then, a voice from behind. "New here?" Arif turned around. An old man was standing there, with strange eyes. "Yes." "How did you know?" Arif was stunned. The old man smiled and said, "Those who come here are of 3 types: police, journalists, and prey."
The strange village. In the village, there were people, but it felt like there were none. Everyone kept their doors locked, windows half open. No one made eye contact. The old man's name was Hafiz Kaka. He arranged for Arif to stay at his house. While eating dinner, Arif asked, "Why are the people so afraid?" Hafiz Kaka said softly, "Do you know about the crematorium?" "Yes, the missing persons case." He stopped eating. His hands were trembling. "That is not a crematorium." "What is it then?" He said very slowly, "It is a door." Arif laughed. "A door to what?" Hafiz Kaka looked at him. "Where the dead are not, but are waiting." The first night, 2 a.m. Arif's sleep broke. He didn't know why. Then he heard tuk, tuk, tuk. Someone was knocking on the window. He stood up, went to the window, pulled the curtain. No one was there. Suddenly, a sound from below. "Hee hee 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 hee." The laugh of a child. Arif looked down. His chest turned cold. A little girl was standing in front of the house. White dress, long hair, her face was not visible. She slowly raised her hand, called out, "Brother, come down." Arif froze. Logic worked in his mind. Why would a child be here at 2 a.m.? He was about to go down. Suddenly, a loud bang on the door. Hafiz Kaka's voice. "Don't open the door." Arif was startled. "Why? There's a girl outside." "That is not a girl." Arif looked at the window. The girl was gone, but there were wet footprints on the ground, which were slowly walking in the opposite direction. The village history. The next morning, Arif forced the truth out. Hafiz Kaka said, 50 years ago, there was a plague in this village. In one night, 40 people died. Then, in the crematorium, there was less space. Many bodies were burnt at once. He stopped. But in the morning, it was seen, the pyre was cold and the bodies were gone. Arif laughed. Stolen? Yes, we thought that at first. Then, from that night on, no one leaves the house after 2 a.m. Why? Hafiz Kaka said, because at that time, they return home. The camera footage. Arif decided to go to the crematorium. During the day, he set up a camera, flew a drone, recorded everything. Nothing unusual. He laughed. Myth. But at night, when he went to watch the footage, his hands began to shake. In the video, it was visible. 2 a.m. From beneath the earth of the crematorium, people were rising. 1, 2, 10, all with burned bodies, all walking in the same direction, towards the village. In the last frame of the video, everyone looked at the camera. Together. Arif whispered, "Impossible." Suddenly, static on the screen, then a line of text floated up. "You have seen us." A voice from behind. "Because of that, you can no longer leave." Arif turned back slowly. Standing at the door was the little girl from last night. This time her face was visible. There was no face, just a black void. She said, "We have been waiting for a long time."
Part 2. Those Who Return. Standing at the door, Arif froze as he saw the little girl. She had no mouth, no eyes, no nose, just a black, empty void, as if even light was afraid to enter inside. The girl tilted her head. "Brother, are you afraid?" Arif stepped back and asked, "Who are you?" The girl didn't answer. She just started moving slowly into the room. But the door was closed, yet she was entering through the closed door. Just then, Hafiz Kaka ran up holding the Holy Quran in his hands. He began reciting it loudly. The air in the room grew heavy. The girl stopped. Her head began to shake violently. Then, a terrifying scream. "We will take him!" In a moment, she vanished. The room was silent again. Arif fell to the floor. His mouth was dry. Did I really see that?" Hafiz Kaka said softly, "They have seen you." The mark. As soon as morning came, Arif stood in front of the mirror, and immediately he screamed. There was a black mark on the side of his neck, a small handprint, a child's hand. He ran to show Hafiz Kaka. Hafiz Kaka's face turned pale. "They have marked you." Meaning now you belong to them. Arif got angry. "Enough! This is all superstition." But the mark on his own neck wouldn't let him believe his own logic. The village ban. Hafiz Kaka said, "You must leave before tonight." "Why?" "Because today is the new moon, Amabasya." Arif stopped. "What about it?" Hafiz Kaka's voice trembled. "Today, they will all come out." The village mosque. Arif decided he would find out everything. He went to the old mosque's imam. The elderly imam looked at him and let out a long sigh. "You are that journalist?" "Yes." "You shouldn't have come. I want to know the truth." The imam said, 50 years ago, it wasn't just a plague. Something else happened. What happened? The Imam closed his eyes. There was fear in his eyes. The night the corpses disappeared, one man went to the cremation ground. Who? The village Kabiraj, sorcerer, medicine man. Why? He wanted to defeat death. Arif's heart began to pound. Did he do something? The Imam whispered. He opened the door. The door. The Imam said, "This world is not alone. The dead also have a world." You're serious? The Kabiraj believed if he could open the door, he could bring the dead back. Did he succeed? The Imam opened his eyes. There was fear in his eyes. Yes. Then he couldn't close the door. The missing 17. Arif suddenly began to understand everything. Meaning, those who have been missing for the last 2 years? The Imam nodded and said, "They are widening the door." Why? Because one day they will all come. New moon evening. The village is emptying out. Everyone is locking their doors, barring the windows. Cattle are inside the house. It feels like the whole village is preparing for war. Hafiz Kaka said, "If you don't leave before 2 a.m., we won't be able to save you." Arif said, "I'm going to the cremation ground tonight." Hafiz Kaka shouted, "Have you gone mad?" Arif said in a calm voice, "If I don't go, no one will survive." 1:40 a.m. Camera, torch, drone. Arif is walking alone towards the cremation ground. There is no wind, no crickets chirping. It feels like the world has stopped breathing. He looked at his watch, 1:59. Then, the ground began to shake. A sound from beneath the earth. Crush, crush, crush. The earth began to crack. A hand came out. Then another one. Then hundreds. Burnt bodies were rising up. They all stood up at once. They all looked in one direction, at Arif. Together they said, "Open the door." A voice came from behind him. "You will help us." Arif turned back slowly. An old man was standing there, a burnt body, no eyes, yet he was staring. "I am the Kabiraj." Part 3. The other side of the door. Arif is standing in the middle of the crematorium, surrounded by hundreds of burnt corpses, and in front of him stands the old man, the Kabiraj. His body is burnt, his skin is peeling off, yet he stands like a living person. He smiles. "Finally, you have come," Arif said with a trembling voice. "You are not human." The Kabiraj shook his head and said, "I was once the truth." The dead slowly surrounded Arif. The Kabiraj said, "You think we are evil. You are killing people. No, we want to return." "From where?" The Kabiraj looked up at the sky. "Where there is no light, no time, no sleep." Arif's body shivered. "Why did you open the door?" The Kabiraj's voice grew heavy. "My daughter died." Arif stopped. "I wanted to bring her back." The first mistake. "I chanted spells. I offered blood. I opened the door at 2 a.m. Then she returned." Arif held his breath and listened. "But she was not my daughter." The air suddenly turned cold. That was something else. What they want. They are not dead. They are not alive. They are trapped in between. So they take people? Yes. For every soul, they need a body. Arif's heart began to pound. 17 people? The door is widening. The horrifying truth. The Kabiraj said slowly, "Today is the new moon. Today the door will open fully." The ground began to crack. A massive fissure opened in the middle of the crematorium. Black mist was coming out from inside. Screams could be heard, the cries of thousands of people. Arif screamed, "I will stop this!" All the dead laughed together. "You cannot." "Why, Arif?" The Kabiraj stepped forward. "Because to open the door, a living person is needed. To close the door, a living person is also needed." Arif stepped back. "No, you have been marked." The black handprint on his neck began to burn, like fire. Arif fell to the ground, a voice in his head. "Come, come." The door opens. The fissure was widening. Hands were coming out from inside. Thousands of hands. Not human hands. Long, black, twisted. A face emerged. No eyes, but there was a smile. It said, "At last, we are returning." The dead began walking towards the village. The last hope. Suddenly, a voice from behind. "Arif!" Hafiz Kaka was running. The Imam Sahib too. They began reciting the Quran. Light spread out. The dead began to scream. The Kabiraj looked at Arif. "Decide now." "What decision?" "Will you close the door or come with us?" Arif looked into the fissure. Inside, he saw thousands of people standing. In the middle was his own face. Another Arif was standing there. He was smiling. He said, "I have been waiting for a long time." The exchange of souls. Arif stood inside the fissure, staring at the man. He couldn't believe his eyes. It looked exactly like him. The same face, the same eyes, the same voice. It was smiling. "You are late," Arif whispered. "Who are you?" It said, "I am you." Not a reflection. Hafiz Kaka screamed, "Don't look at it!" But it was too late. Arif was staring. The Arif inside the fissure said, "Every human has a shadow. You live in the light. I live in the darkness." The Imam Sahib, reciting the Quran, said, "That is your shadow soul." "Why Arif?" The Kabiraj said, "When the door was opened, a mistake occurred." "What mistake?" "The door did not open fully. It opened only halfway." "Meaning?" "For every person in this world, a reflection was created on the other side." Arif's chest turned cold. "Meaning everyone on earth has a—" The Kabiraj nodded and said, "Yes, they want to come to our world." The exchange of souls. The Arif inside the fissure stepped forward slowly. The rule is simple. One soul must leave, one soul must enter. Arif said with a trembling voice, "You want my body?" It smiled. "No, I want my life back." The horrifying truth. The shadow Arif said, "I have been waiting since the day you were born." "What are you saying?" "When you laugh, I cry. When you sleep, I stay awake. When you live, I remain a prisoner. From inside the fissure, thousands of voices. Give us freedom! The mark burns. The handprint on Arif's neck was burning like fire. He screamed. The Kabiraj said, "Time is up. The door will open permanently." Hafiz Kaka, crying, said, "Arif, run!" The Imam said, "No. If you run, no one will survive." The decision. The shadow Arif extended a hand. "Come. You are tired. I will live." The dead all around knelt down, as if starting a ritual. The sky turned black. From the village, screams were coming. They were entering the village. The door of souls. Suddenly, light glowed inside the fissure. An old wooden door was visible. Written on the door, "Entry prohibited without exchange." The shadow Arif said, "To close the door, you must come inside." "And you?" It smiled. "I will take your place." The last moment. Hafiz Kaka was screaming. The Imam was reciting prayers. The village was being destroyed. Arif stood in front of the door. Two worlds were before him. This world and the other. The shadow Arif whispered, "Be the hero. Let your story end. Let mine begin." Arif closed his eyes. A single tear fell. He said, "Okay." Everyone stopped. The shadow Arif smiled. "Welcome to the darkness." Arif stepped inside the door. The door slowly began to close. In the last moment, he heard Hafiz Kaka scream, "Come back!" The door closed. Silence. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then the ground of the crematorium closed again. All the dead stopped suddenly. Slowly they sank into the earth. Everything was over. Or was it? Standing on the village road was a man. He opened his eyes. He smiled. He said, "I have returned." But his eyes were completely black.
Part 5. The One Who Returned. The man standing in the middle of the village road slowly lifted his head. He was smiling, but there was no warmth in that smile. Night had fallen all around. The ground was as it was before. The crematorium was gone. The fissure was gone. Everything seemed normal. Only one man was abnormal. He whispered, "I have returned." Suspicion. Hafiz Kaka was watching from a distance. His hands were trembling. He said softly, "Arif?" The man turned around. His eyes were completely black. "Yes?" Hafiz Kaka took a step back. Are you okay?" He smiled. "I have never been better." Small changes. The next morning, the village was peaceful again. But some strange things began to happen. Dogs no longer barked at people. Children were talking to themselves. People standing in front of mirrors couldn't recognize themselves. And the strangest of all, Arif never slept. The Imam's doubt. The Imam Sahib summoned Arif. Inside the mosque, he said, "Who are you?" Arif answered calmly, "You already know." The Imam said, "No, I don't know." Arif smiled slightly. "I have returned." The Imam stared at him. Then he said slowly, "Those who return never come alone." The second voice. Night fell. Arif was walking down the village road. Suddenly,
A voice inside his head. "You are making a mistake." He stopped. There was no one around. The voice again. "You have imprisoned me, but I am still here." Arif whispered, "Shut up." The voice laughed. "You think you won?" The mirror. Arif entered the house. He stood in front of the mirror. His reflection was staring at him. But suddenly, the reflection smiled and said, "You are not alone." Arif screamed.
But the mirror didn't move. Just a black vortex inside the eyes. The truth cracks. A sound began from beneath the ground again. Hafiz Kaka ran up. "It's starting again!" The Imam said. The door was not fully closed. Arif stepped outside slowly. His eyes were fixed. "It won't happen." Everyone looked at him. He said, "I closed it." But just then, the ground shook. The second arrival. A fissure appeared outside the village again, but this time it wasn't small, it was huge, and from inside, no one was rising. Rather, someone was entering, a black shadow. Thousands of voices together. "We have learned." Fear finally appeared on Arif's face. The final words. The shadows were entering the village. Arif held his head and screamed, "No, no, I closed it." The voice inside him said calmly, "You only changed the location." Arif stopped. "Meaning?" The voice said, "Now you are the door." Part 6. The Man of the Door. The night feels like it's no longer night. There's not a single star in the village sky, just a heavy black void, breathing. Arif stands in the middle of the village. His eyes are black, but now they're not just his own gaze. Inside, another someone is watching. "You are the door," a voice comes from within the wind. "You're not understanding, are you?" Arif slowly turns his head. "Shut up!" The voice laughs. "You thought you had won, but you only changed places." Arif says in a trembling voice, "I'm not the door." A stunned silence. Then look in the mirror. The truth in the mirror. Arif runs to the room. He stands in front of the mirror. His reflection is normal at first, but slowly the reflection becomes slightly different from him. Eyes no longer match eyes. Faces no longer match faces. Then the reflection speaks. "You tried to keep me trapped." Arif steps back. The reflection advances. "But you opened me." Suddenly, the room's wall cracks open, like wood splintering. Black smoke pours out from inside. Arif screams, "Stop this!" But his own voice has changed. Another voice emerges. Calm, deep, unfamiliar. "I don't stop. I open." Hafiz's uncle stands trembling outside the door. "Arif, what have you become?" Arif turns to look. His eyes are completely dark. "I am the door." The crowd inside. Sounds rise from beneath the ground. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Now it's not just the graveyard. The whole village is shaking. The voices together. "We're coming! We're coming!" Imam Sahib runs up, reciting the Quran, but the air grows heavy. His voice stops, because when he looks at Arif, he understands. This is no longer human. Reality breaks. Arif slowly raises his hand. Black lines emerge from his fingers. They spread across the ground. Wherever they touch, the earth splits open. An eerie calm on his face. The inner voice says, "You are now the boundary." Arif whispers, "I didn't want this." The inner voice replies,
No one did. The last resistance. Hafiz's uncle steps forward. He shouts, "Arif, you were our boy!" One moment, something flickers in Arif's eyes. The man stirs. But then the inner voice whispers harshly, "Close the weakness." Arif freezes. His face hardens. "Go away." Hafiz's uncle starts to cry. "No!" Arif says slowly, "Go away, or..."
Everything ends right now. The door opens. The ground fully splits open, a massive black pit. No graveyard now, just infinite darkness. From within, a million voices, laughter, cries, calls, all at once. Arif stands in the middle. No light from his body, only shadow. He says slowly, "I am now the door." New rules. One final sound echoes, the inner voice very calmly. Now the rules have changed. Arif's eyes slowly turn completely black. He looks toward the village once. Then he smiles, but it's no longer his smile.
The night no longer feels like night. There is no sky, only a massive black lid slowly descending upon the village. There is no ground, only cracks, and beneath the cracks, infinite emptiness. And in the middle of it all stands Arif. No, it's not right to call him Arif anymore. He is now the door. The last village. The villagers are running in panic. Some are screaming, some are praying, some are just running, not knowing where they're going. Hafiz's uncle is kneeling on the ground. The imam is trembling, clutching the Quran to his chest. The imam whispers, "This is ending." Hafiz's uncle says while crying, "No, this is just beginning." At the center of the door, Arif slowly raises his head. His eyes are completely black. Wind swirls around him like an invisible storm. The voice inside is no longer a whisper, clear, heavy, inhuman. Everything is ready. The cracks in the ground awaken together. Millions of hands emerge. Suddenly, light bursts in the sky. A white line descends. Through it comes a person. No, you can't call him a person. He stands on the ground, but he has no shadow. He holds no weapon in his hand, only a burning symbol. Hafiz's uncle whispers, "The last guardian."
Face to face. The last guardian looks at Arif. His voice is calm but terrifyingly deep. "You opened the door." Arif, or what he now is, laughs. "I didn't open anything. I just became what I always was." The guardian says slowly, "You broke the balance." Darkness thickens around Arif. "Balance?" He laughs. "Your made-up rules." Not war, but truth. The ground trembles. Light and darkness swirl together. But there is no sword, there is no war, only words. The guardian says, "You were human." Arif pauses for a moment. A tiny flicker appears in his eyes. The guardian steps forward. "You haven't forgotten, you've just buried it." The human inside. Arif trembles. The voice inside him screams, "Stop!" Arif holds his own head. "Shut up!" The guardian says, "You are not the door, you are the key." A moment of silence. The key's decision. The screaming from within the cracks is growing louder. The village is collapsing. Everyone is running. Hafiz's uncle screams, "Arif, fight!" The imam says, "Bring him back." Arif says with a trembling voice. I want to come back. The voice inside laughs. Then stay with us. The last light. The guardian closes his eyes. He raises his hand and gestures toward the sky. A white light descends. It enters into Arif. For one moment, all sound stops. All darkness becomes still. The final choice. Two voices are now clear. One is darkness. Stay. One is light. Come back. Arif keeps trembling, tears in his eyes. He whispers, "Who was I?" The final breaking. Suddenly, everything stops. A massive sound. Boom! The ground shatters. Light and darkness explode together. Then, silence. The next morning. The sun has risen. The village is back. No cremation ground, no cracks. Everything is normal. Hafiz's uncle is sitting in the field. The imam is standing. Everyone is silent. Because Arif is gone. The final scene. A road outside the village. An unknown person is walking. His eyes are calm, a slight smile on his face. A child sees him and asks, "Who are you?" The man pauses for a moment. He looks at the sky. Then he says, "I guard the boundary." He starts walking again, and somewhere far away, a door slowly closes. The end. Some doors never close. They are only guarded.